Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani made his Dodgers debut in spring training. There was good, there was bad, but we got a home run, and that's what we were hoping for. It was exciting. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the strong emotions that Shohei Ohtani and specifically the wall-to-wall coverage of him is bringing out in some fans. Some of that's positive, some of it's negative. We'll talk all about that. And Matt Kemp and Andre Ethier are back in the Dodgers fold. We'll talk about who else we think maybe should come home to LA too. That's what's on tap. So let's get Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. My name is Jeff Snyder. My co-host is Vince Samperio. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like a lot of you. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we're not quite insiders, but we bring you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And Vince, it's a happy day because for the first time in a few days, don't feel like we're lying, saying that we're available on all podcast platforms. We apologize to all of you who do listen on the podcast, which is, we're probably still about 50% of our audience. It's pretty split between podcasts and YouTube. And this migration was not as smooth as we had hoped, but as of Tuesday afternoon, mid-afternoon, we are now available on all podcast platforms. So things should be smooth sailing from now back to the regular schedule. So we apologize for that, but thank you for sticking with us. And thanks to those of you who hopped over to YouTube to get your fix when we weren't available on the podcast. But now we're everywhere. And speaking of everywhere, Shohei Ohtani is everywhere. And specifically, he was at Camelback Ranch, which if you did listen to yesterday's episode, you heard us get confused. We got Ohtani's Tuesday debut and Yamamoto's Wednesday debut mixed up. So everything we said about Ohtani and surprise and that nice stadium on yesterday's episode, just pretend we said it about Yamamoto for today's episode, because that's where he's debuting on Wednesday. But Ohtani debuted on Tuesday for the Dodgers. We got kind of the whole Ohtani experience. We got him swinging so hard that his helmet fell off, which is kind of a classic Ohtani moment. And ultimately, we got an Ohtani home run. Strikeout, double play, and then 2-run homer. It was, like we said many times, Vince, we don't really care about the results in spring training, but it was kind of fun that he hit a home run for us, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be ever worried about home runs that do happen from the Dodger hitters. That's always going to be a positive. Yeah, the first at bat, going down looking, and it was funny, Garrett Crochet, I believe, has stricken out Shohei Ohtani in real life before, like in an actual game. But the White Sox tweeted out, photos of him striking out Ohtani, which was funny. But and then the double play did bring in the run, but obviously no RBI because that's the rule. And then the last one, I'm not sure how many people hit that ball out. Ohtani is one of very few. If he was on it, he would have crushed that ball over the wall right field very, very far. He was a little late on it, got jammed a little bit, and still hit it over the wall, just over the left field wall. So it was very fun to watch. Obviously, it was, especially after his first two at-bats, the fun, sarcastic Dodger fans are having their moment. The non-Dodger fans were having their moment. And then Ohtani just gave us a moment to really enjoy.
Yeah, we tweeted out on our Locked On Dodgers account a video that our friends, Trevor and Heather, my actual friends, your figurative friends, they're everydayers. They also are my neighbors, and my son went to prom with their daughter. But I met them because of this podcast, but they were at the game and they texted me a video. So I tweeted it out of their angle of Ohtani's home run. And it's kind of funny. If you listen to it, you can hear Trevor say, "Oh, shoot," when he hits it, because it looks like he got under it, and he did get under it, but he's Shohei Ohtani. He's so strong. And so it just kept carrying. And I don't know that very many players in baseball can hit that pitch with that swing 400 or 377 feet, 102 miles an hour. And yeah, I mean, we don't have StatCast in spring training right now, but I would guess that that launch angle was pushing 40 degrees, which is about as high as you can get for a home run. So yeah, it was a fun one. And Neverett and Monday on the broadcast talked about the fact that Ohtani only hit 2 opposite field home runs last year. He doesn't really do that much, but we saw that he's plenty strong to do it. And so, we probably won't see many like that, but we will hopefully see a lot of the same general result of Ohtani swinging and the ball ending up in somebody's hands out in the crowd. He has faced Garrett Crochet 4 times in the regular season. He is 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. So, Garrett Crochet apparently has his number. I wonder if, in fact, Crochet is tied for the most strikeouts of Ohtani of any pitcher with Trevor Larnach. You know who that guy is? I just heard of him. No, sorry. Trevor Larnach is a hitter. I was looking at the wrong thing. Trevor Larnach has tried with Ohtani for guys who have struck out the most times against Garrett Crochet. So probably somebody struck out Ohtani more than 4 times, but he has Ohtani's number apparently.
Yeah, and the other part of the Ohtani mania was us finding out what the exact order would be at the top of the order. Mookie Betts, we knew was going to lead off. Shohei Ohtani batting second. Freddie Freeman batting third. Dave Roberts said basically that they're not committing to that, but they are going to use that for, I forgot the exact wording he used, but basically that's going to be the order for unless something drastically changes. I know that there was stats out there on Ohtani difference between batting in the 2-hole and batting in the 3-hole. There was a huge, significant difference. I don't know if that played into it. Dave Roberts kind of mentioned that Ohtani's a little bit more of a free swinger. Having Freddie Freeman behind him gives him the chance to probably get a little bit better pitches because you don't want to put Ohtani on in order to get to Freddie Freeman, which makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and lineup protection, there's a lot of questions about how real it really is. But yeah, if Ohtani gets more strikes to hit because Freddie's on deck, great. And then if Freddie might get more fastballs because Ohtani's on first base, because Ohtani's fast. And so maybe he gets better pitches to hit too. For me, the big thing, and I actually said this, I think on Locked On MLB with Sully, the day that the Dodgers signed Ohtani, I hopped on from my car at my son's wrestling tournament and talked about Ohtani. And I told him I guessed that Ohtani would bat second because that gives him a whole lot of opportunities to score from first on Freddie Freeman doubles. And yeah, obviously, if Freeman bats second, he has a lot of opportunities to score on Shohei Ohtani home runs, but there will probably be more Freddie Freeman doubles than Shohei Ohtani home runs. And while it's more beneficial to be on base for a home run because you get then a whole extra run, I think maybe it's more important to be on base for a double because, hitting a double with nobody on base is great. You get into scoring position, but if there's a guy on first and that guy is one of the fastest guys in the league, boom, you get in scoring position and you scored a run. And so for me, that's why it makes a lot of sense. And honestly, there's arguments you could make for the other direction too. And I think that's one of the great things about this is there is no wrong answer as far as what order to bat those guys in. But I really like this decision, even though ever since I said that to Sully, I've now spent the next 2 months second guessing myself and arguing with myself. And so maybe I haven't been as committed to it as I was that day, but overall I still, wouldn't say it's the right decision, but it's a decision I like and it's not the wrong decision.
Yeah. Like you said, realistically, when Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman are probably going to have the top 3 most at bats on your team, you're going to get spot no matter which order they bat in, but we'll see how it plays out. We didn't get to see much of it play out on this game. Mookie Betts, I don't think got on base. Shohei Ohtani Mookie Betts did get on base, got doubled up in Ohtani's second at bat. And then, Ohtani ended up homering the other one. Freddie Freeman he almost homered right after Ohtani to the same spot, but that wasn't quite deep enough. But that's at top of the order where realistically in at least 30, maybe 40% of the games, you're going to have a run in the top of the first or bottom of the first.
Yeah, and I saw some numbers. The second hole hitter gets more at bats, but the third hole hitter gets more at bats with runners in scoring position. So it is a trade-off, and so they'll both get plenty of opportunities to drive in runs, and so will Mookie, hopefully with the bottom of the lineup producing. So with Shohei Ohtani debuting, and just in general, since he signed with the Dodgers, there has been a lot of media coverage, fan coverage, everything coverage of Ohtani, and that's bringing out the good and the bad in some fans. We're going to dig into some of that. So thanks for making us your first listen, and please keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. I actually don't know if you can bet on spring training things, but maybe you want to put $5 on Shohei Ohtani homering. Guess what? You'd have your $150 in bonus bets. It's NBA season going on. I know you can bet on that stuff. And so if you've got a feeling, whether it's who's going to win a game or even, something simple, you think, oh, there's an over under. Oh yeah, the Lakers are definitely going to score more than this many points. Boom, put $5 on it. And when you win, you get $150 in bonus bets that you can use on any bets. So you can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit fanduel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Hey, we are back. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Especially want to thank our everydayers. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. You can also go beyond the show and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. It's a text-based service. We'll send you text messages, updates, our thoughts on things as it's happening. And you can text us back and have one-on-one conversations with us. I've had a lot of fun one-on-one text conversation with people in the last several days about Kike Hernandez and about Shohei Ohtani and so many other things. So become an insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. It's just a few bucks a month, and there's a free 14-day trial. And you can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, the two 24/7 streaming channels on YouTube from the Locked On Podcast Network, giving you all the breakdown on the world of sports in general or specific to Los Angeles, whichever you prefer. And with that said, Shohei Ohtani, we've talked about Ohtani playing on this podcast, and we're going to keep doing it because we, as the Dodger fans, are nothing but excited about Ohtani being on the team. And like you said, after Ohtani struck out, there was a lot of sarcastic Dodger fans. Oh, we lost the offseason, oh, what, he's a bust, whatever. But in real life, we're all really excited about it. And so we know that by and large, our listeners, our everydayers, are pretty big fans of the Dodgers having Shohei Ohtani. And so we're going to keep talking about him. Major League Baseball is also talking about him a lot. And I think that's causing some Ohtani fatigue among fans of other teams. And, I think there's a few dynamics here at play, Vince, and we could talk about. I think anytime MLB is gushing over a player who isn't on your team, you're going to be a little annoyed by it. But I think specifically the Dodgers, the Dodgers are currently one of the most hated teams in baseball, and especially after spending so much money this past offseason, they became even more hated. And so I think specifically because he's on the Dodgers, it seems like the Ohtani fatigue among non-Dodger fans, and not all of them. I think some people who just love baseball and love it's hard not to like Shohei Ohtani. And Jared Carrabis made a good point. We've all been wanting Ohtani to play on a good team for the last 6 years. And now that he is, I think some people are just excited about that, but I do think there's a lot of fatigue setting in.
Yeah. And I personally, there's other players and especially me working in kind of that specific industry of social media and baseball specifically, MLB knows what the people that work at MLB know what they're doing. Ohtani brings the numbers, regardless of if people complaining, if people are positive about it, if people, whatever, it brings the numbers. That's one thing that factors into it, that he's going to be that guy no matter what. But also when the biggest player in the game is now playing for one of the top two biggest franchises, and realistically after this Ohtani run, the Dodgers could, surpass the Yankees overall in global dominance, or at least start competing with them a little bit more closely. But when that happens, you're going to celebrate it. And, when Ohtani gets his first, and realistically, I think it's just because, it's been, the games have already started, and Ohtani, we've seen all the home runs from live batting practice, which we don't always see, for a lot of players. We've seen, him in blue. We've seen everything about it, and we've heard about him a lot. And yeah, I can understand where people feel it, but for baseball, for the people that complain that baseball doesn't market its players, and then when they're marketing one of their players to be upset, it might not be the same people, but no one's ever going to be happy. But the good thing is that we as Dodger fans are happy, and we're not going to get tired of it. And if they want to show Ohtani tying his shoe, I'm still going to watch that video regardless of anything else. Now, will it get to a certain point where it's too much? I don't think so, at least not for us Dodger fans. But yeah, for everything else that's happening, I can understand. And also the Dodgers are marketing Ohtani themselves. Like, they've had a lot of videos that are out there. And the other part is the Dodgers broadcast all their games. So all their games are going to have actual video from the games. Not every team is doing that. Some teams are posting videos that are taken either on cameras or cell phones from, not broadcast format, and have to post that. And, that sucks for them, but not for us.
Yeah. And I don't have to feel guilty about all of the Ohtani coverage, because I am one of those fans who I've loved Ohtani for years. And I watched a lot of Angel games that I didn't care about because I liked Ohtani. And so, it's not just because he's a Dodger. It's because I love Shohei Ohtani, but also I love that he's a Dodger. You mentioned teams that don't televise all their games and show clips from cell phones, and tying into the Ohtani coverage. One of those sad teams, the Giants didn't broadcast their game on Tuesday when Jordan Hicks and Jung-Hoo Lee, maybe their two biggest free agent acquisitions of the offseason, both made their Giants debuts, and it wasn't even available on TV. And they played the Mariners, and the Mariners didn't broadcast either. So there was no way to watch it. And so, there was a highlight of Jung-Hoo Lee's first hit as a Giant that the Giants posted like an hour or two after it happened, because it looked like a video somebody took from the press box. Maybe you can't even see where the ball goes. It was sad. But because of that, because there was no Giants game to watch, the sad people at KMBR in San Francisco, if you haven't seen these videos, maybe you're lucky. They tweeted out these videos of their whole staff standing around watching Shohei Ohtani bat and celebrating when he struck out looking in his first at bat, and then being sad when he hit a home run. And I guess it was for laughs or so I don't even know what it was for, but it was really, really weird, and showed a weird either lack of self-awareness or an ultra self-aware commitment to being the insecure little brother.
Yeah, or lack of comedic knowledge.
For sure, lack of sense of humor. Yeah, definitely lacking in sense of humor.
If I've always said this before, the Giants in general have trolled the Dodgers on social, not the Giants specific account, but their NBC, whatever, their account has done it before. KMBR has done it before. Sportsnet has done it a couple of times in response. And, against the Padres at one time, they ended up deleting after the Kershaw crying meme. But, I like that they don't do that. I like that for the most part, even though it's not specific to the Dodgers, like AM 570, they don't normally troll. And if they do, we're not fans of it more than likely. So it's just interesting. But, it adds to the point of, I talked about earlier with the White Sox posting Crochet striking out Ohtani, and like I said, he's legitimately struck him out in an actual game that matters. And Mookie Betts' comments are kind of proving true a little bit. Where the Giants weren't even playing the Dodgers, they weren't even whatever, but they still had the posting of it. This is I don't know. It was just so bad, and I don't know if I was a Giant fan, I'd be embarrassed by it. If I was those guys, you sell your soul for some laughs, maybe maybe like 2 or 3, definitely not worth it.
Yeah, and that was kind of my feeling. It was just a vicarious embarrassment. It didn't upset me because okay, I know people are going to celebrate. That's part of the fun of being a Dodger fan is, what my sons have t-shirts that say the Los Angeles Dodgers of Los Angeles and San Diego and Phoenix and Denver and Anaheim. And you get it, and that's part of the fun of being a Dodger fan, that it is everybody's World Series, and everybody, the more you chant beat LA, the more I think, hey, we're both talking about the Dodgers. That's awesome. And like the fact that that's where the lack of self-awareness comes in. Like, you are broadcasting, you're celebrating Shohei Ohtani's debut for your rivals, the biggest free agent signed with your rivals. And instead of even being aware that you have a game, your team has a game going on, you're just talking about ours. So yeah, it was just embarrassing for them, but just fun for me. And I didn't comment it on social media because it's just one of those things that, like, I like to enjoy those things. I saw it and I smiled and I thought, yeah, I'm a Dodger fan. I like it.
Yeah, well, to be fair, they couldn't watch their game, so
Yeah.
that's all they could watch, really.
Yeah. So I don't know if their goal was to make Dodger fans happy. I suspect it wasn't, but that's what happened. So we're going to come back in a minute. Matt Kemp and Andre Ethier have both been hired by the Dodgers as consultants. We've heard about Ethier working with Miguel Vargas. We just heard the last few days that Matt Kemp is back in the fold. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and about some other former Dodgers who we hope will be brought back into the Dodger family sooner than later. So thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. As you know, buying tickets on the third-party market, whether it's to a sports event or a concert or a comedy show or a theater event, it's just so frustrating because you don't know if you're getting a good deal. Maybe you can't find last-minute tickets. You don't know exactly where your seats are going to be. It's frustrating, but it doesn't have to be, because Gametime is awesome. It's an app you can get on your phone. You can also use it on your computer if you're old like me and you prefer, typing on a keyboard in a browser. But either way, you can get your tickets through Gametime. You can see exactly the view from your seat before you buy, so you know what to expect when you arrive. All the prices are shown. Your total is up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. And oh yeah, speaking of great deals, they have the Gametime guarantee, which guarantees that you'll get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. They also have last-minute deals right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. So it's the best place to find last-minute seats. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Hey, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Especially want to thank our everydayers. We really do appreciate you. We heard from a lot of you when the podcast wasn't available on podcast platforms for the last day and a half, but it is back up. We appreciate you being patient with us and your commitment. We appreciate that it was hard for you to not have your Locked On Dodgers listened to. That means a lot to us, and we hope you jumped right back in and hopefully listen to the episodes that you had missed. But now that hopefully will never happen again. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. You can also become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers for just a few bucks a month. You can join this text messaging party that we have going on, where we send you our thoughts on news and rumors and other stuff going on, and you can text us back and forth, one-on-one conversations. So it's a lot of fun. So check that out, and check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles 24/7 streaming channels over on YouTube. And with that said, we've heard in the last few weeks about Andre Ethier working with Miguel Vargas to help him learn how to play the outfield a little bit better. We just recently heard over the weekend, maybe late last week, that Matt Kemp has been hired by the Dodgers as a consultant, brought back in to the Dodgers family. We don't really know what role he'll be playing. There's a lot of guys on the Dodgers payroll. I know Steve Garvey, over the last several years, he just he just glad hands people. He just walks around shaking hands. That's kind of his job is, hey, you look like a guy who remembers Steve Garvey on the Dodgers. I bet you love him. And now you can shake his hand. It's just to kind of make a great experience. And so they got some of those guys. Don't know if Kemp will be an ambassador type like that, or if he will actually be, more involved with the team, either, on the field or off the field. We'll have to see, but it feels good to have Matt Kemp back in the family,
Yeah, it's, we've seen this over the last. Dodgers are starting to become one of those franchises where, like, I'm used to it as a Raider fan. It's always like once a Raider, always a Raider. And you see a lot of former Raiders at games or involved or, whatever the case is. for the Dodgers is becoming that a little bit, which is good. They've always had guys. Don Newcomb was always around when he was alive, and you saw him at all the games. Obviously, Steve Garvey. Guys always kind of come back or in the mix. Or Hershiser is obviously on the broadcast team. Jerry Harrison Jr., even though he's not a Dodger legend, but he played for the Dodgers. Nomar Garciaparra, Adrian Gonzalez are all part of the Sportsnet crew. So, we see these types of guys. Yeah, exactly. So we see these types of guys. But yeah, for Andre Ethier and Matt Kemp specifically, like those are two fan favorites for a lot of people in my generation or similar generations of guys that they grew up watching, and it's fun to see. And if they can help out, obviously that's beneficial even more so. Matt Kemp has, I'm sure, a lot of stuff to offer that, and it's always about different perspectives. Like everybody's different. Matt Kemp and Andre Ethier have different perspectives on hitting, on defense, on different things that they can all add. And it's one of those, you can't get too many cooks in the kitchen, but you can also just, if I'm a young player and I talk to Matt Kemp and then I talk to Ethier and then I talk to guys on the team already and different players, you just kind of absorb what they take, and you can kind of decide what you want to disperse or who you want to talk to more, or whatever the case is. And that's a good thing. And for Matt Kemp specifically, if anybody dates a starlet, they can ask ideas for that too. Although most of these guys are already kind of dating somebody, so it's fun to see. I'm glad to see Matt Kemp. I'm hopefully that we're going to see him around a lot more at the stadium or whatever the case. We remember Chase Utley came back and did some stuff after he retired. So the more the merrier when you can get these guys kind of being prideful of being a Dodger and continuing that pride moving forward.
Yeah, and it's got me thinking about other guys who maybe would be good to get back in the Dodger family. And one of them that comes to mind, we were talking a week or so ago about how in your lifetime, Ethier is kind of the only guy who spent his entire career of like 10 years or more with the Dodgers. And I did some looking, and I think Ethier is the only one whose entire career came in your lifetime, who had at least 10 years, and they were all with the Dodgers. But one guy who the last couple of years of his career were in your lifetime was Mike Scioscia. And Scioscia did spend his whole career with the Dodgers. Every regular season and postseason major league game he ever played, he was in a Dodger uniform. He actually did sign with the Padres after the 92 season and went to spring training with them, and he tore his rotator cuff in spring training. So he never played for them. And then he signed with the Rangers before 94, went to spring training, tried to catch on as their backup catcher, didn't make the team, went to AAA, played one game, and then he retired. So he actually has baseball cards on the Padres and the Rangers, but played his entire career with the Dodgers. And he's a guy just, partly because he went into coaching and managing not too long after his playing days were done. He hasn't been a part of the Dodgers family in a long time. And he's a guy who, even though he did spend a lot of time as the Angels manager, he's still a Dodger, and he's a guy, and his name always comes up. And we've talked about it a few times when people get on their fire Dave Roberts tirades. Mike Scioscia is never going to be the Dodgers manager, and I doubt he'll ever even be on their coaching staff. But I'd love to have Scioscia back in the family as, in the front office or, as a more of an ambassador type role, something like that. And, even legends of Dodger baseball. Like, he wasn't a great player, but he was a good player for a long time. And people forget 1988, if Mike Scioscia's homer off Dwight Gooden in the NLCS doesn't happen, we never get Kirk Gibson's home run in the World Series. That was maybe the biggest play of the postseason. Mike Scioscia wasn't a home run hitter, and Dwight Gooden was maybe the best pitcher in baseball at the time. And he hit a home run off Gooden to tie a game, send it to extra innings. I think that game ended on a different Kirk Gibson homer, but Scioscia had some huge moments in Dodger blue, and I think he needs to be a Dodger again.
Yeah, it's good. We've seen him the last couple of years at different. I think he was at maybe Fernando's jersey retirement. I want to say he had another first pitch. Another guy we've seen is Eric Gagne the last few years. So yeah, like I said, the more the merrier to have him there, whether it's in spring training, during the season, just to hang out. Like I said, be part of an ambassador. I think the Dodgers understand they're in a spot right now where the brand is hot and they need to keep that brand going. And, whether it's the nostalgia play with some of these guys, whether it's, expanding the horizons of different players, or, getting these guys out to different events, that regard the Dodgers. I know for a while there, the only guy that was at all the Dodger events for like all these little league field and stuff like Kenny Landreau was always at an event. I think I met him like 3 or 4 times because he would come to the local little league when I was coaching, and he was one of those guys. But to have guys like Mike Scioscia, Matt Kemp, if Ethier's in town from Arizona, guys like that can build that brand even stronger for the Dodgers, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they've got their Dusty Baker thing going on this year that, I doubt Baker will end up being like part of the Dodgers family, but, they are trying to appeal to that. And I think that's awesome. And, as soon as
I think Baker got an advisory role somewhere. I forget which team. I think the Giants, actually.
I think it's the Giants. Yeah. And, as soon as Justin Turner retires, he'll probably be back with the Dodgers in some role, maybe Kenley Jansen too. There's the different generations, they have Eric Karros, and, it's too bad they can't get Mike Piazza back in the family. I don't know if that'll ever happen. But, kind of these different generations, and, they do have a pretty good tie to the 70s and 80s with Garvey and Say and Yeager. But kind of getting some of these guys who are more your generation of players, because you guys are getting old, Vince, and, you are kind of in that generation now that has the money to spend, and that a lot of what a team is, it's marketing to the people who have money to spend. And, Matt Kemp fans are now old enough to have money to spend.
Yeah. I'm talking about getting old. I found 2 white hairs in my beard the other day, so I'm getting up there.
2, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough, Vince. All right. You got anything else before we wrap this one up?
We got Yamamoto today to watch, so that's going to be exciting, and looking forward to the overreaction from whatever does happen in that game.
Yep. And Gavin Lux back-to-back to Wednesday and Thursday. Hopefully actually get some defensive plays at shortstop. But, that's a lot of fun stuff going on this week. And Kike will probably be making a spring debut by like Friday, I think we heard. So a lot of stuff going on. We will be here for all of it because that's what we do. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thanks for being an everydayer. If you're not, become one by watching or listen every weekday morning. You can become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles over on YouTube for 24/7 sports coverage. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSince91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog. Our DMs are open there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message at 323-863-LOCK5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one.